Has it been a long time since you worked out and you're hesitant to get started because you don't know what to do? Or maybe today you're dealing with some type of health complication, maybe a past injury, or have some type of obesity, and you're scared to work out because you don't want to get hurt. Well, in today's episode, I want to break down how to get started again in a safe way so that you can avoid injury at all costs. Let's get started. Let's go. You are incredible. Your body has a purpose. Your life has a purpose. You were designed to live the best life possible.
Mic check. Mic sound okay? Camera 1 good? Camera 2 good? All right, here we go.
What's going on, my beautiful people? We are back with another episode. You are tuned in to listen. You're not defeated. And I'm your host, David Hernandez. With each episode, my goal is to help you live a life of freedom through health in a smart, simple, and sustainable way. If you're tuned in to watching through my YouTube channel, I want to thank you for joining me. And if you haven't already subscribed, I invite you to click the subscribe button and click the little bell so you get all the notifications of our up and coming episodes. And if you're tuning in with us on your favorite podcast station, thank you. And if you haven't already followed, click the follow button so you don't miss an episode. Last week, I started to break down how to create your own workout plan. And as I finished that episode, I started to think, well, that might be a bit too advanced for some people. I believe that we all have different levels that we need to check in with ourselves. And last week's episode, I broke down how to start establishing and creating your own workout routine for those that are either beginners or already in more than an advanced level. If you missed that episode, go check it out. You can find it here on my YouTube channel. But more importantly, today, I really want to break down how do we get started if we've been away from working out for a long time. Look, this is a very important topic because I believe far too much information out there isn't geared to those that have either been away from the gym, from working out, from an active life, from a healthy life, or they're coming back because of an injury that they've been set back, or maybe they're just dealing with health complications and they do not know what to do. Maybe that's you today. Maybe you're scared because you have back issues, or maybe you have knee issues, or maybe you just have some interpersonal complications within your organs and your systems in your heart or your lungs, and you don't know what to do to get started. Well, today I want to really simplify this journey because it's really about simplicity. Look, there's a lot of depth in simplicity, and we can get a lot and gain a lot from just keeping things very simple. So today I want to break down what some of those things are, because as you start to eliminate doubts, self-doubts, eliminate fear, eliminate anything that is keeping you from actually moving forward and taking action towards becoming healthier, to being active, to working out, to building muscle, to just moving more, well, it's going to keep us from establishing that life of health that we're chasing after each day. Because each day is an opportunity for that. And one thing I want to say before we get started, movement is medicine for your body. Let that sink in for a moment. Many that have gone through a past injury, many that today are dealing with being overweight, maybe some type of obesity, some type of health complication, are afraid to move. Many people in this state or that are experiencing or have experienced any of this are afraid to move because they're scared of either injury or they're scared that if they move, something is going to happen to them. But what I want to share with you today is that movement, all movement is medicine to the body. Our body actually becomes healthier as we move. So with that said, that leads me to point number 1. All movement is good movement. Now, we've got to assess, where are we today? If I am dealing with an injury or are just coming back from an injury, we want to look at what things can I do. Oftentimes we get stuck in this mentality of only focusing on, well, I can't do that because it hurts. I can't do this because it intensifies the pain. I can't do that because it's too hard. It causes this. It produces this. Well, I say let's forget about what we can't do and start focusing on what we can do. Because there is never too little that we can do. Anything and all things that we can do are of benefit for us. They're of positive. It's an important thing to do, to understand that it doesn't matter where I'm at. It's about doing what I can do. Because as I start to do what I can do, I start to tell my body, I'm able. You're able. You can. And the more we can build on that foundation of doing what we can do, well, we start to build some momentum. We start to build some consistency. So today, maybe you've been away from working out for a long time, and this is a brand new year where you want to start moving towards being more active. Maybe you're coming off of an injury. Maybe you have some type of heart complications. Maybe you are overweight and you want to change that. Well, we want to focus on what can I do? And oftentimes what we can do is the basics of movement. Therefore, movement is the first thing we want to focus on. Simply moving more. That might be walking. That might be going up and down one step. Maybe you have stairs at home and you can do some steps going up and down. That might be sitting and standing up from a chair. That might be lifting my leg. That might be raising my leg. That might be doing some walking jacks, meaning I'm going to step on the side as I raise my arms as I would doing a normal jumping jack. The principle here that we want to look at is, how can I do things that are of low impact? Low impact is your friend when you've come off or haven't worked out in a long time. So we want to think, and I encourage you to get a notebook. I believe in writing things down because that also helps activate our creative side of the brain, and it helps us to also make a connection to certain things so that we can then next step to take action. So what can I do? Can you walk? Can I sit down on a chair and stand back up? Can I do something with resistant bands? Can I do something outdoors? Can I bend over and stand back up? Movement, my friends, is the most important thing here. There is no such thing as doing too little, as I said earlier. And that little might just simply be, well, I can only walk for 5 minutes. Great. When I first started training, one of my students several years ago, she wanted to obviously release weight and just get healthier. And all she could do on the stationary bike was to bike for 1 minute. I think it may have been less, 30 seconds to a minute. That's all she could do. And I encouraged her to continue to do that. The more she did it, she realized that she was able to go up to 1:30, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, then eventually get to 5 minutes. And then from there, she was able to transition to another thing, and then another thing, and then walking. And I'm talking to you about a woman that struggled even walking and standing for a long period of time. And long period of time to her was standing for more than 2-3 minutes, 5 minutes at max. You see, it doesn't matter where you're at today. What matters most is focusing on, how can I effectively do things that do not cause me pain? Now, hear me out. There might be still some discomfort that you're dealing with. Can you still do the movement even though there's discomfort? Because what we do want to avoid is excruciating pain. Anything that we do in terms of working out should not bring us pain. That saying, no pain, no gain, that's the dumbest saying that there could ever be out there. Because pain is a response from the body that is telling you, you're hurting me. It's speaking to you. It's speaking to us. It's saying, I don't like that. This is causing me too much discomfort and I can't deal with it. And if we continue to push through and still continue to deal with the pain and deal with the pain and deal with the pain. Oh, because I'm strong. Oh, because I just have to willpower my way through it. Oh, I don't care. It doesn't matter. I'll get through this. My body has to submit to me and it's going to do what I say it is. No, we start to break it down. And that leads to another thing and another complication, which can then lead us to severe chronic pain that can lead to severe injury. Our body speaks to us, which means we want to listen to our body. We want to adopt this relationship with our body. And I had an awesome conversation, a podcast episode that we released several weeks ago with Christy Barker, who is a fantastic physiotherapist. Go check her out. Check out that podcast episode. I'll link it here inside this video. And we talk about how it's important to start to understand your body. Start building a relationship with it because our body speaks. And when we're beginning our journey in working out again, we've got to listen to our body. Now, that doesn't mean we're going to be soft and we're going to take things light. We're all in different levels. And it's important to evaluate, well, how much do I really want to give into this? How much do I want to push myself? How much am I willing to deal with certain discomforts? How hard am I willing to push? How much am I willing to invest in this? How much am I able to invest in this? How much time am I able to commit to such thing based on the situation that I'm at? How much can I tolerate? And that is the important word we want to look at. We want to evaluate how much can my body tolerate right now in this place where it's at. So I've been dealing with some shoulder issues for about the past 4 years. And it all happened when I went to Haiti on a missions trip. I came back, got 3 tropical viruses, and my body started to break down. I've been dealing with nerve pain, some back issues, muscular issues, bone issues, a bunch of things. And at the very beginning, I remember I was doing a push-up and I fell face first, and I could not move my right arm at all. And I had to assess my body at those very beginning stages. What can my body tolerate? What is the movements that I can do that my body tolerates properly that is not causing pain? And from there, after getting evaluations and speaking to professionals about this and getting guidance and getting my own trainer and an own physio to help me through this, I had to learn that moving my arm, even if it was just up to here, right? Or if it was simply to the side, if that's all I could do, they encouraged me to do that and do more of that and not wrap myself on the concept or this idea, well, I can't raise my arm up. I can't lift this box. I can't do no. What can I do? Okay, I can move it here. Well, I can also use my legs. I can work out my legs. I can do so much other things that don't involve my shoulder, my right shoulder. So therefore, I'm going to do more of that. And as I continue to do that and I continue to work on making this injury better, focusing on improving that, focusing on working on my nerve mobility and all of these other things that I've gone through for the past 4 years, today I'm able to do a lot more. So we want to focus on what can my body do as the first step and do that. Invest in that. There is no such thing as, again, doing too little. Far too many people beat themselves up because they say, well, I can't walk for more than 10 minutes, more than 5 minutes, so why do it? It's a waste of time. That mentality is a destructive, self-destructive mentality. Because everything can be built on, right? We can compound and build over things or build on top of things. So if today you can only do 1 minute, only do 5 minutes, be encouraged by that. Be encouraged by that. Don't be discouraged. Don't allow these things to get negatively into your head because it's about what can I do? What can you do? And on that, Let's do it. Because the more I can stay active in this, well, I'm going to realize, oh, wow, I can do more than 5 minutes. Now I can do 10 minutes. Because as we move, our body starts to understand, this is what I should be doing. Okay, this is what I'm now supposed to be doing. Okay, very good. Because there's something called adaptability. And our body adapts based on certain situations. That is why when we're coming off of an injury, oftentimes when we're getting back from that injury, whether you've had your foot in a cast, maybe you've had some knee surgery. I can remember myself when I had knee surgery, both knees, 2 surgeries. I remember that when I started to walk again, I was scared. And I would try to baby it and like, oh my goodness, I can't do this. But I had to retrain my body and I had to tell it and teach it that it was safe to move again. So as I would do things, I would be intentional about it. And I would say and tell myself it is safe. So today, if you find yourself dealing with some type of injury and you're afraid to get started, well, we're going to focus on the basics, doing what we can, which means tell yourself, I can do this. Speak to your body and say, you're not going to get hurt. You're okay. You're safe. Let's do this. And in that, let's find encouragement so that we can start leaning or heading towards a place where we can start to do more. Number 2, it's about correctives as well. So we start with mobility. We start assessing what can I do, and we start doing more of that. And then the next thing we want to look at is, well, what things now can't I do that are restricted, that are being affected? And if you're coming off of an injury, well, that might be your range of motion. That might be today how you're able to move. The ability to move might not be there. Maybe your range of motion of bending a knee is not fully there. Maybe of raising the arm, maybe of bending down, maybe of squatting, maybe of going upstairs. Maybe your mobility, your range of motion is limited. Well, we want to start addressing that. As we start to move, on the first step is we're literally starting to almost lubricate our muscles, our joints, our tendons, right? The more we can lubricate, it's almost like a car that's been sitting there for a long time and it hasn't moved. And then you start it up and it makes this weird sound. And then you rev the engine. And then what are we doing there? Well, we're flushing the fuel and the oil through all of the moving parts. And then we keep moving it. And then we take it to a drive. And maybe it might give us a little bumpy feeling in the car. And then maybe it might stall, and then you start it again, and then you try doing it again, and we start running it. And the more that fluid and the liquids and all the lubrications and all the moving parts of that car start to move again, well, it reminds itself and it figures out, okay, this is how we move. And we take out all of maybe the dust and the stuff that shouldn't be in there as it's moving. All of that stuff that was limiting or that was building up because of lack of use. Same thing with our body. Lactic acids and things that are in there in our body that are restricting us, that start to come on to our body because we have not used it, we have not moved it. Well, we start to dust all those things off. We start to get all those things out. We start to get the moving parts of the body moving again. But then we have to start correcting certain things that now might be wrong. And corrective movements or corrective exercises are really important because this is what's going to start leading us and heading or taking us to the next level of being able to maybe start building your own workout program, or start going to the gym, or start lifting weights, or start doing some resistant bands, which is why, back to point 1, we want to do things without weights at the beginning. We want to get ourselves moving. That might be body weight movement. That might be just stretching. That might be dynamic movements. That might be going up the stairs. That might be walking up a hill, or whatever it is. No weights, no resistance. When we now get to the corrective stages, on number 2 is we can start now introducing certain resistant band movements to help us correct a movement pattern that might be wrong. And in this, I recommend you getting some assistance in that. Maybe speaking to a professional, maybe myself, if there's certain things that you want to improve on. Maybe you notice that you have limited mobility in your hips, in your knees, in your joints, or in your shoulder joints, in your chest, whatever it is. Well, we want to assess those things. Searching on Google and looking correctives for my shoulder, correctives for my hips, correctives for my squats, correctives for, or I notice when I go up a stair, I get some back pain. Okay. Well, that's typically coming from issues that might be stability issues that starting at the hip, right? Our hip stabilizer, meaning our hip flexor, that also might show that I might have some weakness in my glutes. And then I can start now assessing and pinpoint specifically how to correct certain things in my body to help correct my movement pattern or therefore my range of motion. Pilates is a great way to assess what your stabilizer muscles, meaning the muscles that keep our body stable so that they stay in position. We often focus on the bigger muscles and we forget about the stabilizer muscles, those that create stability so we can create mobility, right? And we often ignore those muscles, but when we're doing something such as Pilates, or we're working with maybe some type of dynamic movements, and we start to notice, there's clicking here, there's weakness here. Or I remember a couple weeks ago, I did a spinning class. And in that spinning class, we have to get up off the seat and pedal as if we're going up a hill, going up a mountaintop, or going down one. And in that, I noticed that I had to hold myself up on the bars, and I noticed that my right side was shaking. It wasn't able to hold on as strong and firm as my left. Well, that doesn't surprise me too much, being that I'm coming off of an injury with my shoulder, but it did give me information to tell me that my stabilizer muscles aren't strong. My body isn't strong enough to stabilize itself in this position for a long period of time. So that gave me information as I listened to my body that what I need to start focusing on now is to strengthen my stabilizer muscles. So today, maybe you realize that, sitting down, your legs shake as you go to sit down, and you can't control yourself as you sit down and you just flop. If you notice that you're flopping on a couch, you're flopping on a chair, you're flopping when you sit down in a car, well, that's giving us indications that our stabilizer muscles, or our muscles in general, aren't strong enough to sustain myself to go through the movement, to go through the range of motion. So these are all things that start to indicate, these are things that we should probably focus on. We need to correct these things. That's why it's called correctives. We want to correct, how is my leg moving? Is it in alignment with my body? Oftentimes, when we put our leg straight out and we bring it back in, most times the knee, instead of coming straight back towards us, it's going out, or it's pushing in too far. Well, that's showing us that we need to correct that alignment. So these are things that we want to start looking at as a part 2, as the second thing to go on, so we can start getting correct movement patterns in our body. And there's a lot of amazing professionals out there. You can find people on Google, on Instagram. You can reach out to myself that teach us and can help us change our movement patterns to fix pain issues that we have. We want to listen to the pains in our body because it's speaking to us that there's an issue there. Let's address it. We as humans sometimes tend to ignore it because we don't want to deal with it, or we don't know how to deal with it. There's no excuse anymore. There's a lot of information out there. And as I share this, I just encourage you to find the courage within to go out and start getting some information to help you. If you can't afford a professional, there's a lot of information out there that you can find. And I suggest you look up some certified physiotherapists or physios either on Instagram, on TikTok, or some of these social media platforms, or reach out to me. I can always recommend and refer those that are in my network to help you start correcting those movements. Number 3. This leads us to then start looking at progressions. Now that we've been moving, now that we've started to correct some of our movement patterns that are off alignment or that aren't correctly being done and are causing us pain, then we can start to progress. And this progression is important because as now we're in this state of being more active, the progression then will allow us to start strengthening our body. And being strong and having strong muscles is important, especially as the years pass. The older we get, we want to focus on building muscle because we want our muscles to be strong. Strong muscles help us with posture. They help us with stability. They help us with longevity. They help us with being able to protect our bones, our tendons, our joints. And it's necessary. It's the one piece that we highly, highly, highly need to focus on, building muscle. And we can start doing that in this next phase, in this next step, by progressing our movements. As we've corrected some of these movements, or as we've just been consistent with moving more, and maybe today you find yourself that, yeah, I can walk, 20, 30 minutes. Okay. Well, how can we progress that? Maybe we now add some dumbbells, add a little bit more weight, and we progress ourselves that way. Maybe I start going up a hill, a slight more incline. That's a progression, right? Maybe I put ankle weights as I walk. That's a progression. As I'm walking, maybe I have some dumbbells and I'm moving my arms side to side if I have no restrictions or if I have no pain. I might be doing some curls. I might be doing some shoulder presses if I am able to, right? These are ways that we can now start to progress things. We can progress things by adding weight, introducing resistant bands. Maybe you've been doing some wall push-ups and that's all I could do. Well, maybe now instead of only doing, 20 wall push-ups, can I now do them on the floor, maybe knee push-ups, or maybe do 3 to 5 regular push-ups? You see, it's about how can I now progress this to make it a bit more challenging? If what we're doing at this phase is just too easy, well then how can I do that to make it a bit more challenging? How can I focus on making things also fun for me through this process so that when I'm here, as I progress through this, well, I can have some more fun with it. We forget about the principle of fun. My wife and I are always looking for ways to have fun while being active. And this is a new thing for me, to be honest with you, because when I was involved in all of my health and fitness journeys, it's always been a very traditional, methodical way. It was simply going to the gym, working out, and coming back home. That was my routine. But because of the shoulder issue, I was forced to figure out new ways to become active and to still stay healthy. And in that, it shifted my perspective on looking at, well, what can we do now every single time that is fun, that excites me, but that includes activity. One thing my wife and I are doing is we're playing Frisbee. And we're bringing those around us to do this with us. So we bought a Frisbee. Every time we can, we keep it in the car. And wherever we go, whether we're going to my in-laws' place or we're going with some friends or we're just going to the park, my wife and I, we have it there so we can play. It might be throwing a ball. It might be shooting basketball. It might be playing laser tag. I've talked about this in the past, getting a pool noodle and maybe sword fighting. A friend, your wife, your husband, having fun, going to the pool. My friends, the pool is one of the best things we can do to help us get back into movement, especially in a progressive state. Doesn't matter where you're at. Also, especially if you're coming off of an injury. Water therapy, water movements in the water are excessively low impact, and the resistance on there is protected because of the water. It allows you to do the movement. So the water, my friends, I encourage walking in the water, doing high knees in the water, doing some squats in the water, doing some lunges in the water. Can you do some leg kicks? Can you do some leg curls? Can you do some leg extensions? Can you do some abductions, some side leg raises? All of those things we can do in the water. And it's also fun. You can make it fun. Throw the ball in the water. I don't know, my friends. It's about how can we make it fun for ourselves as we now start to progress into my workouts, into my exercises. There is no excuse when we're in this place, in this phase now. Because it's really about understanding that you are worth it. You are worth fighting for your life and your health, but more importantly, you deserve to have it. And it's there for you. You can also look up progressive exercises. And for those that maybe are still having some issues, well, I recommend you look for modifications. How can I do this exercise with a modification? For example, there's modifications for squats. There's modifications for a push-up. There's modifications for a lunge. There's modifications. All of those things, we can find modifications on how we can do it. Because when we find, again, the way to do it, then it will allow us to be able to then continue to progress. And this leads me to number 4, my friends. Once you're in this stage, now let's start introducing some weights and or resistant bands in a greater way, in a more resistant way, meaning we're going to increase the resistance that we're using. Because in the progression, we can possibly be using resistant bands to help us strengthen a movement pattern. But in this now phase, in the 4th phase, you can start now increasing the resistance of your bands to now start building the muscle, primarily. So in this phase now is how can I now start doing these exercises focusing on building some muscle, strengthening the muscle groups, right? Because now we're closer to then being able to now do what we talked about last week to really structure your own workout program. Focusing on compound movements and compound exercises. Again, if you missed it, there's the link in the description so you can go check that out. But here, we really now want to focus on working out to build muscle. Strategically, how can I target the muscles, right? How can I start targeting the muscle groups that today I identify that are really weak? Or just a full body workout? Can I now start doing intervals, meaning I go from one exercise to the next? So this is where we can really start to now explore. We can go from walking to maybe jogging to maybe sprinting if you're capable and able to. That might be from walking to then doing some type of stair climbing to then maybe some type of bike, stationary bike, to then maybe walking again, but on an incline. Can we now start to compound the things that we're doing and start doing them in an interval stage, meaning back to back, to now start really targeting the muscle, but also start working on my cardiovascular endurance, muscle stamina, right? So in this stage, it's now really about just intensifying what we've been building on, what we've been working on. Because at this level, now we're at a much better place, capable-wise, to now start taking it to the next level. Because here, my friends, the goal is going through these phases so that we can avoid injury. So we can do this lifestyle of health in a safe way. That's really what it's about. Having fun, doing it safe, and the way we can have fun is by doing it safe. And getting advice. If you need information, ask for help. How can I do this better? We're afraid of asking for help sometimes, but ask for help. And stop copying what other influencers are doing if you can't do it. A lot of these influencers have years and years and years of experience. And they might have a different body structure. They may have not had injuries or may have dealt with their injury already and they're stronger. And maybe today you're not at that level. So we should not be copying what a lot of these influencers are doing. Focus on where you're at and what you can do, and let's progress from there, because that is a smart way of doing it. But more importantly, that is what's going to get you closer to designing the lifestyle of health and fitness that you so much want. Let's do this smart. Let's do this in a way that will allow us to be an encouragement for others. It's not about how can I do it faster than somebody else. It's about how can I achieve it, still have longevity of life by living the life that I desire. So these are the 4 phases, my friends, that I highly recommend you follow. Staying in the order as best you can, because again, that is going to help us to avoid injury, do it in a safe way, and do it effectively while having fun. Remember, have fun in all of these ways, because it's just going to give us better life. I hope they were helpful. Let me know what you think in the comment section. If you have any questions about anything that I talked about, if you want some advice, you need some guidance, maybe want to know how to really get into a routine for yourselves, look, let's connect. Shoot me an email. You can always reach me at david@davidhernandez.co, david@davidhernandez.co. You'll find it also here in the description. Go check it out and let me know if I can serve you in any way. If we haven't connected on social media, let's do that. You can find me on my handle at Dave K. Hernandez, at Dave K. Hernandez. You'll find it also here on my channel. Check it out and we can connect that way. If you want to learn how I can support you, maybe you want to know about my coaching programs, my one-on-one programs. Maybe you want some mentorship and some guidance. Maybe you're dealing with some emotional eating or some sugar addictions or just food addictions. Let me help you. I'm here for you. I want to serve you and support you through that journey. You can do that by visiting my website, www.davidhernandez.co, davidhernandez.co. There you can book a call with me so we can have a conversation. I want to get to know you and see how I can serve you. My friends, as always, it's always a pleasure. Thank you so much for tuning in. Share this with someone. Let's grow this community. Look, I'm on a mission to help 1 million people live a life of freedom through health in a simple, smart, and sustainable way. How can we do that? By sharing. Share the podcast with somebody, share the YouTube channel with somebody, and also share the Free Friday training. And if you haven't joined us, every Friday we have Free Friday training. Join the community. It's at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. The link is in the description. Click the link for more information on how you can join us every week on Fridays. My friend, as always, again, thank you so much for tuning in. You are listening to Listen, You're Not Defeated, and I'm your host, David Hernandez. Remember, you are incredible. Go out, crush it, and live your best life. If you haven't subscribed, click the subscribe button. Click the little bell so you can get all the notifications. And if you're following us or you're listening to us on your favorite podcast station, click the follow button so you don't miss an episode. I'll see you on the next episode. Peace.